Stephen's on set with us now for Business News. Stephen, perhaps not surprisingly, starting on the latest of the scandals surrounding the Renault and Nissan executive, Carlos Ghosn.
That's right. According to reports out of Japan this morning, Carlos Ghosn's detention has been extended by 10 days over those allegations of financial misconduct. This as prosecutors continue to question him over those allegations relating to Nissan. Meanwhile, here in France, the board of Renault has agreed temporary replacements for Carlos Ghosn. Philippe Lagayette will become interim chairman of the board, while Thierry Bolloré will become deputy CEO, but will hold the same functions as Carlos Ghosn. That's key because Thierry Bolloré now becomes the person who deals with Nissan, which itself could be facing an investigation, according to Japanese media. Solange Mougin has the latest on this story.
Filling the power vacuum. The board of French carmaker Renault met in an emergency meeting late Tuesday. They said they're not removing their CEO Carlos Ghosn, who is facing accusations of financial misconduct. Instead, they said in a statement they've chosen an interim leader.
The board of directors resolved to appoint Mr. Thierry Bolloré on a temporary basis as deputy chief executive officer. Mr. Bolloré will therefore lead the management team of the group, having the same powers as Mr. Carlos Ghosn.
Bolloré was number 2 at the company and will now have the authority to run Renault as its CEO. The board also named Philippe Lagayette, its lead independent director, to fill in as interim chairman. The move tries to stabilize the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance, and both the Japanese and French governments have also expressed their support for it. Yet the cracks in the delicate marriage that Ghosn created and oversaw are beginning to show. Nissan's profits have in recent years surpassed Renault's, but the French car maker maintains 43% ownership of Japan's number 2 car maker. Yet dissolving the alliance could be costly.
If tomorrow the cost of a factory is on just one brand, it'll take longer. It means profits will be hit, so will investment. It's an entire functioning logic that would be questioned.
The alliance saved the car makers €5.7 billion last year through joint buying of parts and synchronizing factories. Yet with Ghosn thought to be in this prison and prosecutors requesting to extend by 10 days his detention, questions have emerged of whether anyone other than the Titan-esque businessman can hold together the global partnership.
Well, the news of this inquiry had sent shares tumbling on all 3 car makers that Carlos Ghosn is involved in. Today, things looking a little bit more stable on the share markets. Renault actually trading up after that news out of its board meeting last night, appointing that new team as interim leaders of the company, up 1.6%. Of course, it had been down significantly over the past 2 days. Nissan, too, seems to have stabilised. It was down 5.5% this time yesterday, so a little bit of gains there. Mitsubishi, though, still seeing some falls. It lost over 6% yesterday, down another 1% in trading in Tokyo today. Now next, the United States has again lashed out at China over trade ahead of a meeting of Presidents Trump and Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 later this month. The US Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer issued an update to his investigation into Chinese practices related to intellectual property and transfer pricing. In the statement, he says that China has not fundamentally altered its unfair, unreasonable and market-distorting practices. These practices were what sparked the imposition of the first tariffs in the trade war. Oil prices starting to stabilise today after a massive slump on Tuesday. The rout accelerated after President Trump said that Saudi Arabia had been responsive to his requests to keep prices at reasonable levels. That sparked fears of oversupply in the market. Riyadh had already said that it was boosting oil production. On Tuesday, prices slumped by around 6%, but today we are seeing a bit of a bounce on Brent crude and on WTI crude as well. The international benchmark up 1.4%, but $63 a barrel being the price. Just a month ago, that was nearly $80 a barrel, so we are still looking at a huge drop in the price of oil. On the stock markets, Tuesday was also a dreadful day for shares on Wall Street. The tumbling oil price hurting energy shares, that adding to the continued sell-off in the technology sector. This is the picture at the European Open today. Markets up slightly as we move into the trading day here, so it's no signs of that sell-off spreading into Europe. Oil companies seeing some minor falls, but not on the same scale that we saw in Wall Street, or indeed in Asia earlier as well. Markets there mostly slipping over concerns that global growth could be weighing on investors' minds as well. This is the picture on the Asian markets, Tokyo and Seoul in the red, but some small gains there in Shanghai and in Hong Kong. Well, finally, for me, the American version of Glamour magazine is to stop publishing a monthly print edition, instead focusing on online. Editor-in-chief Samantha Barry says they'll continue to produce special editions in print for major events, but they wouldn't be as regular, and the magazine will be expanding its video and social media output. This coming as Glamour's publisher Condé Nast reportedly lost $120 million last year. Publishers already cut regular print editions for titles including Teen Vogue. Stuart.
Yeah, very difficult for publishers at the moment. Thanks very much, Stephen. Stephen with Business on France 24.